Merry Adventures of Robin Hood. How Sir Richard Paid His Debts. The long highway stretched straight on, gray and dusty in the sun. On either side were ditches full of water. Far away in the distance stood the towers of Emmet Priory, with tall poplar trees around. Along the highway rode a knight with 20 men at arms. The knight was plainly dressed, but the horse he rode was a noble steed with rich decoration of silk and silver bells. The band journeyed until they reached the great gate of Emmet Priory. The old porter was drowsing on his bench beside the lodge when a knock woke him. He limped forth and greeted the knight. "Where is your prior?" asked the knight. "He is at meat, good knight." "He looks for you coming," said the porter. Sir Richard entered the stony courtyard, his men behind him. While the knight had been riding along the highway, a merry feast was in progress. At the head of the table sat Prior Vincent of Emmet, in soft robes of fine cloth and silk. Around his neck hung a heavy chain of gold. On his right side sat the Sheriff of Nottingham in robes of purple trimmed with fur. On his left was a famous doctor of the law in the dark and sober dress. The educated doctor had been paid by Vincent of Emmet to handle the case between him and Sir Richard. "Are you sure, Sir Prior, that you have the land so safe?" asked the Sheriff of Nottingham. "Aye, I have kept a close watch on him. I know right well that he has no money to pay me," answered Prior Vincent. He smacked his lips after a deep drink of wine. "Are you sure this night will do us no harm?" said the doctor, trembling. "You need not fear. This night is gentle," said the prior. A door at the lower end of the large room swung open, and in came Sir Richard. He walked humbly up to the hall with head bowed. His men at arms stood at the door. When he came to where the prior sat, he knelt upon one knee. "Save and keep you, Sir Prior," he said. "I am come to keep my day." The first word the prior said to him was, "Have you brought my money?" "Alas, I have not so much as one penny upon my body," said the knight. The prior's eyes sparkled. "As you hope for heaven's mercy, show mercy to me. Will you not be my friend, Sir Sheriff?" "This is no business of mine," said the sheriff, "yet I will do what I may." He nudged the prior with his knee beneath the table. "Will you not ease him some of his debt, Sir Prior?" At this the prior smiled grimly. "Pay me £300, Sir Richard, and I will quit your debt. Either pay your debt as I have said, or release your land and get yourself gone from my hall." Sir Richard rose to his feet. "You false lying priest," he said in a stern voice that the man of law was frightened. Sir Richard turned to his men at arms and called, "Come here." The tallest of them came forward and handed him a long leather bag. Sir Richard shook it from a glittering stream of golden money upon the table. "You have promised me I could pay £300. Not one farthing above that shall you get." The prior's head hung down. Not only had he lost hopes of the land, but he had forgiven £100 of the debt. He had also paid the man of law 80 gold angels for nothing. Now I have paid all the dues demanded of me. I leave this foul place. So saying, Sir Richard turned upon his heel and strode away. Little John turned to the sheriff. I would say, sweet sheriff, that I have heard all your pretty talk this day. It shall be told to Robin Hood. Farewell till we meet again in Sherwood Forest. Little John turned and followed Sir Richard down the hall. Now a year and a day passed, and once more the mellow fall had come. The year had brought great change to the lands of Sir Richard of Lee. A rich and plentiful crop had been gathered. The cattle was now orderly and well kept. Sir Richard rode forth to pay his debt to Robin Hood on a bright and merry morn with a good array of men at arms. They marched onward until they came near a Denby. From the top of the hill, they saw many colorful flags and streams floating in the bright air. What is happening at Denby today? Sir Richard asked the nearest man at arms. A merry fair is held here today, and a great wrestling match. This will be a goodly thing to see. Methinks we have to stay a while and see this merry sport. Sir Richard turned his horse's head toward Denby. There they found a great hubbub of merriment. Tumblers were tumbling on the green, bagpipers were playing, and lads and lassies were dancing to the music. But most of the crowd was gathered around a ring where the wrestling was going forward. When the judges of the wrestling saw Sir Richard coming, the chief of them beseeched him to sit with them and judge the sport. So Sir Richard got down from his horse and sat on the bench raised beside the ring. A certain young man named Egbert from Stoke had thrown all those who came against him, but a man of Denby, who was well known throughout all the countryside as William of the Scar, had been waiting. When Egbert had thrown everyone else, stout William leapt into the ring. A tough match followed, and at last he threw Egbert heavily. There was a great shouting, for all the Denby men were proud of their wrestler. When Sir Richard came, he found William walking up and down the ring. Come one, come all, he said. If I do not make them all root the ground with their noses like swine in the forest, call me no more William the wrestler. A tall youth with a tough quarter shaft in his hand came pushing through the crowd. He leapt lightly over the rope into the ring. He was not as heavy a stout as William, but he was taller and broader in the shoulders. Sir Richard looked at him keenly. He turned to one of the judges. Do you know who this is? Methinks I have seen him before. Nay, said the judge, he is a stranger to me. The young man laid aside his quarter shaft. Each man spat upon his hands and squatted down. Then they leaped together to struggle and strain. William gave him most cunning trip and throw, but the stranger met it with greater skill. With the twist and the wrench of the stranger loosened himself. William found himself locked in a pair of arms that almost made his ribs crack. Then the youth put forth all of his strength and gave a sudden trip with his heel and cast William over his right hip. William went down with a sickening thud. He lay as though he would never move again. No shout went up for the stranger. An angry murmur was heard. One of the judges, who was kin to William, rose and said, If you have slain that man, it will go ill with you. But the stranger answered boldly, he took his chance with me as I took mine with him. No law can harm me. We shall see, said the judge. Then Sir Richard gently spoke. Nay, the youth is right. The other was cast fairly in the wrestling ring. 3 of the men came forward and lifted William from the ground. They found that he was not dead, but only badly shaken from his heavy fall. The chief judge stood and said, Young man, the prize is yours. Here is the red gold ring and the gloves, yet yonder stands the barrel of wine. The youth bowed without a sword. Taking the gloves and the ring, he leapt lightly over the ropes and made his way through the crowd. He heard all around him such words muttered as, I swear he casts good, William unfairly, and yeah, saw you not birdlime glue upon his hands? The stranger paid no attention to all this. He walked slowly to the dancing booth and stood at the door looking in on the sport. A stone struck his arm with a sudden jar. Turning, he saw an angry crowd of men that had followed him. A tall, burly blacksmith strode forward from the crowd, swinging a mighty blackthorn club. Would you come to our fair town, you jack in the box, to overcome an honest lad with cheap juggling tricks? He growled. Take that then. He struck a blow at the youth that might have fell an ox, but the other turned the blow skillfully aside. He gave them back a blow so terrible that the Denby man went down with a groan. When the crowd saw their leader fall, they gave an angry shout. The stranger placed his back against the tent and stood swinging his staff. Now some coward threw a sharp, jagged stone that hit the stranger in the head. He staggered back with blood running down his face and jacket. The crowd rushed upon him and he fell beneath their feet. Shouts were heard and steel flashed in the air. Sir Richard of Lee came spurring on his white horse. The crowd melted away like snow and a warmth hearth. The youth rose and wiped the blood from his face. Sir Richard, you may have saved my life this day, he said. Who are you to know Sir Richard so well? Asked the knight. Methinks I have seen your face before. Yeah, you have. Men call me David of Doncaster. Ha, you are more set in manhood than a year ago. Come into the tent, David, and wash the blood from your face. Ralph, bring him a clean jacket. In the meantime, a whisper had gone around that this was none other than the great David of Doncaster. When young David left the tent with Sir Richard, no sounds of anger were heard. All pressed forward to see the young man, feeling proud that one of the great wrestlers of England came to Denby Fair, for his fickle is a mass of men. Sir Richard called aloud, This is David of Doncaster. He bears you no ill will for what has passed, but let it be a warning to you now you treat stranger about how you treat strangers. I have bought the barrel of wine from him, and now I give it freely to you. Never again fall upon a man for being stout. Then Sir Richard left the fair, and David beside him, and his men at arms around them. Robin Hood stood in the merry greenswood with Little John, waiting for Sir Richard's coming. At last a giant steel was seen, and into the open rode Sir Richard and his men. Why, methinks you are a brighter bird than when I saw you last, said Robin. Yes, thanks to you, Robin, said the knight. I have brought back the money you did lend me. I have doubled it 4 times over, and so become rich once more. I have brought a little gift to you and your brave men. Sir Richard, you will pleasure us all if you will keep that money as a gift from us of Shorewood. Is it not so, my lads? Then all shouted, aye, with a mighty voice. I thank you all deeply, said the knight earnestly, but think it not ill of me if I cannot take it. Robin Hood said no more, but gave the money to Little John to put away in the treasury. Then Sir Richard had packs laid upon the ground and opened them. Inside the packs were 200 bows of finest Spanish yew, inlaid with silver. Beside these were 200 quivers of leather embroidered with golden thread. In each quiver there were 20 shafts feathered with peacock's plumes and knocked with silver. Sir Richard gave to each man a bow and quiver of arrows. To Robin he gave a bow inlaid in gold, and each arrow in his quiver was knocked with gold. All shouted for joy of the fair gift. All swore among themselves that they would die if needed be for the Sir Richard and his lady. Thus Robin Hood helped the noble knight out of his misfortune.